MP Duran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. I would like to start by first and foremost, through you, to wish the minister and by extension the ministry and the government apparatus much strength during this difficult time as we mourn the loss of Mr. Michael Brown. I know that it came as a shocker to many of us, those that are still in disbelief, and I just want to wish the ministry much strength before I proceed into my clarification point. Madam Chair, with respect to the water parcel that initially the minister said was collected and then not collected, to be collected, and the water rights was issued, I'm trying to understand if the minister is saying that the water rights that were used for a period of years was issued in hopes that they might pay the 1.2, because initially the minister said that they paid the 1.2. I'm understanding now that it didn't pay. Can I understand if it was issued in anticipation of? If that is what the minister is saying. My colleague also mentioned if it was collected or if it's to be collected in the budget projections, would it be incorporated in the budget, which we haven't seen it reflected in the amendment? 1.2 million is quite a significant number and can make a lot of difference. Hence the reason the question and the clarification being sought. I heard the minister make mention of the weighbridge. It sparked a light bulb in my head one time, because I remember upon taking office, the previous administration had paid a company to install a weighbridge. They never complied with it. They paid about, I think it was about 75% of the cost, and we took them to court. I would like to know through you, Madam Chair, is this the weighbridge that is on its way, or is this a whole different weighbridge? And if this is a whole different weighbridge, where are we in terms of the court proceedings with that particular company? I know this has been a government that has been settling cases since they came in. There's a lot of court cases being settled, no appeals. So I would like to know from the government if this was also one of those settling cases where the country continues to lose because of all this settling. Madam Chair, through you, I want to get some clarity if, with respect to this May 2nd permit that references continue being drawn to, is the minister saying that the permit department advice misled the minister? Because the reason why I'm saying that is because there's a continuous sound that the change of purpose was not done, which I know is a prerequisite, 100%, the minister is right. The parking policy, the beach policy was not taken into consideration. I want to put it out there for the general public. Once a minister receives an advice, it is advice to approve or advice to approve a disapproval. So it's a yeah or a nay. To add some context to that, there are always motives as to why. 9 times out of 10, there are approval advices. Well, I would say 50 times out of there's 49 times out of 50 there's approval advice. Once in a while you see a disapproval, and that's based on going back and forth with the developer or the client, so to speak, in terms of making certain adjustments, and if we can't come out of that, then they get a denial. And to make the impression as if, you know, it was signed on May 2nd and May 2nd and May 2nd, which is the day before we left office, I would like to know, this is a separate question. Was I authorized to sign any documents on May 2nd, and was that the only document signed? Because the minister put a lot of fanfare around it in terms of trying to make it a big issue that a document was signed. I don't remember receiving any motion of no confidence stating that I'm not allowed to sign anything, so I would like to get some clarity on that from the good minister. And I would also like to ask the minister, are you signing things these days? Because you're also in a demissionaire state. Because when we say these things, we create a lot of misconceptions out there, and it causes a lot of confusion. So I think for comprehension's sake for the public, I would like for that to be cleared up. I move on, Madam Chair, with respect to the land that the minister mentioned, which in regards to Maho, and it being signed off because it was already issued and it was reissued. But I just want to let the good minister know, in case he is being misled by his advisors, the whole situation had sparked confusion due to the fact that an extra, I think it was about 2,000 to 3,000 square meters was issued in error or being utilized in error for all these years. Hence the reason why someone lost their job in the cadastre. All the evidence, everything is there. So if you are not doing the due diligence, and I think after I sound the alarm, I think about 3-4 times, it should have prompted you, knowing the person that you are, to go and do that investigation, unless you don't want to know. Through you, Madam Chair. And I think it's quite unfortunate that, I mean, this time the minister didn't do it, but every other time, through the former minister that basically did the party a favor by holding on under the bus by saying, I didn't sign it. It was the former minister signing. I find that quite worrisome, and I for sure would never take a post and do a favor like that for anyone that is showing me under the bus. Madam Chair, I listened to that and I smiled when I hear the minister mention that it will take 12 to 18 months to bring the land policy, unless I misunderstood. I hope I misunderstood. Because I could remember sitting right there, and they had the best lawyer sitting here in Parliament, who's now the best advisor to the minister, saying that it could be done in a minute. I had it ready. You know, I find that quite strange. So please, if maybe a little breakdown could be given to the 12 to 18 months, I would appreciate that. And how are we going to move forward with those that are there pending now? Because are you telling me then everything has to take 12 to 18 months? But some big developers can get through in 2 minutes? That's a question I would like to know. Madam Chair, lastly, the minister mentioned that on April 10th, a message, an email, I don't know what it was, if it was a voice note, a transcript, the minister was reading something. And he said on April 10th, the government was informed. Then he said the prime minister, then he said the government. I would like some clarity, because earlier today, the prime minister said that there is documentation. So if there is documentation, I think that the Minister of Housing should have that documentation. How was this communicated that the project was ended? Madam Chair, I've been in this public service sector, whether in the legislative and the executive, for almost 7 years. And one thing is for sure, I'm not going to waste my time for months back and forth stating that something was so, knowing otherwise. Because I would have just said that, hey, listen, guys, we run the risk of losing the project for XYZ. So I really would like to know. And the minister mentioned April 10th. That was my birthday, actually. So I would really like to know, how was this communicated? And if you can prove that it was communicated to the Ministry of Rummy, I rest my case. And regardless to what minister, through you, Madam Chair, I am willing to do every single thing possible to save this project, because I feel that it is a very important project. It's not a Jurendi project, it's not a Patrice project, it's a project for the people of St. Maarten. So if indeed it is off the table, please let us know here today how we can assist as members of Parliament to get it back on the table. Because for me, we can go back and forth, but I just want to make sure that the record is set straight with respect to the facts. Because we've seen a lot of misrepresentation of the truth here on the floor of Parliament during this CC in particular. And I think that the people have had enough, and it's time now to move forward. But I just have to highlight certain inconsistencies. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity, and I look forward to the responses.
Thank you, MP Doran. MP Iran, you have the floor.